Welcome to the show. This is Jason with FargoFX. This is our 5th episode of Subscriber Builds. My apologies. The place where I live right now in Arizona, we're having like 9,000 mile per hour winds. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, the winds just howl and howl and howl, and there is no way to hide from the noise. So if there's wind noise in this video, I apologize. I'm doing my best to use a mic that has a limited range and stuff, but it's still undoubtedly going to pick up some of that noise in the background. So again, my apologies, but the show must go on. So our first submission today comes from Jonathan. He's from South Africa, and he's 17 years old. He says he's just gotten into knife making, and this is actually the first knife he made. The blade is made of steel scrap that he found. He didn't say what type of steel. My guess would be that if it was found steel, he probably didn't know. And I gotta tell you, I have made at least a dozen knives from steel that I had no idea the composition of that steel. So I think this is a great way to get into knife making. It's a great way to practice without spending a lot of money on expensive knife making steels. I will say that he has done a really fine job with this knife. It looks to me like a bushcraft style knife, or possibly a hunting knife, a belt knife, something you would carry with you maybe on a hike, or maybe when you're hunting. It looks like a very practical blade, and especially for a first knife, I think this is really well made. I like the shape, the overall symmetry looks great, looks like a very comfortable handle. Fit and finish appear to be very decent, and one more thing. He did this entirely by hand. Didn't use any power tools at all on this project. So Jonathan, I want to say you have done tremendous work here. This is a great knife, and if this is your first knife, you are going to be a fantastic craftsman if you continue with this hobby. So from South Africa, we will head all the way up north to continental Europe. These next knives come to us from an 18-year-old knife maker in France. His name is, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, Gaetan. He has a friend who's a blacksmith, and a couple of years ago he told him to give knife making a try, and apparently he's been enjoying it ever since. He says he only does stock removal, and he has some difficulty accessing sufficient heat to do proper heat treats for his knives. So he recently made a little wood charcoal forge with the help of his father. So he's thinking about shopping for an anvil or finding something to use as an anvil, and he may start trying to forge. He says the tools that he uses are mainly angle grinder, files, and a belt grinder. He recently got a new belt grinder for Christmas. It's a lot more powerful, and he says that with a couple of tweaks, he has been able to make that work perfectly. Although he's still learning how to use it, and believe me, I can relate to that. Whenever I get a new tool, there's always a learning curve to it. You know, especially when you're dealing with the grinding tools and you're putting bevels in or sharpening up a blade. It's just, it's a very delicate process, and there's a lot of finesse to it, and it can take some time to pick up those skills. So these pictures are of some of his latest knives. The knife with the red handle and the textured flat, he says, is made from XC75 steel. He says it's a very famous steel there in France. Of course, that got me curious, so I went and looked it up, and it is indeed a very impressive steel. And in fact, it's one that I might look into using myself at some point. And it looks like that knife he has actually already sold, found a customer for that one, a friend who is going to give to her brother who lives in the USA. So that's very cool. Only been at it for a year or two and already making knife sales. And judging from the quality of the work that I see here, I believe there will be many more sales to come. So the clip point is made from stainless steel. The small EDC knife is made from a saw blade. He says that was his first try at etching a blade. And the other one with the mirror bevel is also made from XC75 steel. Lastly, I should point out he also started a YouTube channel a few months ago, and over there you can find the makings of all of these projects and probably several others. He says he likes to share his way of making knives, how he uses his tools, and he likes to share the fun that he has making these knives, and I can totally relate to that. If you want to check out his channel, I will post a link in the description below. In fact, any of you that have YouTube channels, if you give me that information, I will put that in the description below the video. So again, huge thanks to Gaetan. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to see the work that you're doing, and really appreciate it and be inspired by it. Next, we move on to Fritz from Fritz H Custom Knives. He has submitted work before. I should mention, if you want to submit work and you've already sent something in and it's been featured before, by all means send in new stuff if you have something that you want to share. So Fritz sent in pictures both of some knives that he's made and also what he calls his ultra budget gas forge. And I'm excited to share both of them with you, but I think especially the gas forge project because I just made one myself. And I have to say that this side of the whole hobby of knife making and blacksmithing is a part that I really enjoy. You know, learning how to use different materials to give yourself an advantage where maybe you can heat the steel faster, or maybe you can make something a little bit more efficient, save a little money, save a little time. And of course, there are so many different designs out there and many very creative homemade type designs. Undoubtedly, many of you have made your own gas forges, and probably some of you are thinking about making one. And the more information you gather and the more designs like this you see, I think the better prepared you're going to be when you want to do a project like this yourself. So thank you very much for sharing these with us. As always, your knives are absolutely beautiful. You do fantastic work. And for those of you who haven't seen Fritz's work, you can actually find him a couple of different places. He's got a YouTube channel, but he says lately he's less active there and he's more active on Instagram. And his Instagram is fritzh.knives. So fritzh.knives. But check out his YouTube too, because he has some great work over there as well. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. I appreciate you putting up with the wind noise that was probably going continuously through this. I guess I'll see when I get this all edited together. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video.